Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I can't remember anything that happened before 2 weeks ago.
Lucky you.
No, I'm serious. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. None of it.
What? Like amnesia?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm Stuart.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm not going to make a joke of the fact that we're on a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a change.
Yeah, I know.
But although if I had actually sort of planned things out a bit better, we wouldn't have been, because there was something I was going to go do tonight, but I'm not. There was actually two things I could have done tonight, which is really annoying because I kind of wanted to do both of them, and I'm not doing either of them. But I'm doing this instead, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I was going to say the movie world doesn't revolve around you, so it's fine. There is two of us. I could have been doing something tonight. Yeah, I wasn't planning to do something else tonight, but I could have.
You could have.
But yeah, we're live on the 8th of September, just in case people are interested. However, I doubt very many people are watching us. They're probably watching England getting beat.
I've been impressed with watching this because we don't really have any cameras, unless someone's not told me something
actually
about what's going on.
Nope, my fan has not turned up outside of my flat, so I'm fine. Yeah, listen to us then. But yeah, the England match is on, so I guess about 2 people are probably listening to that, and so that's normally our listening figures anyway. So yeah. Yeah. We're here anyway to review films, and so up on this week's show in the cinema section, we're looking at these films.
We have the latest comedy craze to be hitting screens in Sex Tape. We have a little small independent film from the makers of You're Next. We have The Guests. We have a film with Helen Mirren based on the book The 100-Foot Journey, and we also have another film based on the book in Before I Go to Sleep.
And on Blu-ray and DVD, or as I like to call it, the home release section, we're looking at these films.
Zac Efron is really kind of a bad neighbour. See what I did there? We have one of Paul Walker's last films in Brick Mansions. We have one of the last films as well from Robin Williams in The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. We have a small British film in Plastic. We have an even smaller film called Mum's Night Out. And we have an even really smaller film than that called Blue Ruin.
Yeah, they're like Russian nesting dolls of films.
Yeah,
the more you actually stack the films in. Because it is, if you go from Bad Neighbours down to Blue Ruins, they get smaller and smaller, the size of the films.
Yeah, I mean, from the last sort of... Well, no, because Plastic did get released and Blue Ruin did get a release as well, but they are very small kind of... little kind of home releases more often. They're more home releases than cinematic releases.
Yep, and on top of that we have TV Movie of the Week and the Blu-ray and DVD Top 10 and the UK Box Office Top 10, but...
I'm just going to say, if there is anyone listening live, and I know we don't normally do this, I'm going to say though, my TV Movie of the Week, it's on Saturday night, it's on Film 4. It is also on tonight on Film 4 at 9 o'clock. So if you've got a TiVo or something like that, then feel free to set it and we'll find out what the my TV Movie of the Week is at the end of the show.
Yeah, and we have Sky Plus boxes. If you've got a Virgin Media box, it's a TiVo, but Sky Plus boxes. If you've got any kind of recording device, then just do that.
Though bear in mind as well, there is also Film 4 plus 1, so you could go straight on after the show, because we finished by sort of 10 o'clock-ish. So,
yeah. Maybe. Make sure you check out the website before we kick into the show, mondaymoovieshow.co.uk. We'll hopefully have more content up on the site soon, hopefully, rather than just the box office top 10 and what's happening on the show.
I was meant to, apologies, I was meant to put up a replay of a catch-up post of the show this week, but I didn't get around to doing it, so I've been a very bad boy.
Yeah, there is a little idea which I've got that we can use as a way to get a podcast without going up on iTunes until we figure out how to get it up on iTunes. But
yeah,
that's for after the show, though.
It's proving to be more difficult than getting pandas to mate.
Yeah, but the idea that I've got up might help us a little bit. You can also...
with pandas, you mean?
Maybe it's with pandas. I was thinking about using penguins, but you can also get in contact with us on Facebook.
I don't want to know how that works.
Facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, Twitter @Monday Movie Show, I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andy's at EHDVD. You can also email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, and no, we don't have a text number, so you can't get in contact with us that way. We do, but we're not giving out our own numbers.
No.
So let's kick things off with some movie news.
The Terminator films are coming back, but with a remake from Paramount, as we already know from previous posts and previous news. But now we know that it's going to be a trilogy, and because of the fact that the rights to the Terminator franchise will go back to James Cameron in 2019, Paramount has fast-tracked the production of the trilogy of movies, starting out with the one that we know already called Terminator Genisys, which is going to be released on July 1st next year. But there's now going to have 2 sequels which have yet to get titles, which will be released on May 19th, 2017 and June 19th, 2018.
And like you said before, it goes back into the hands of James Cameron, who will mix Avatar with Terminator. Avatars versus Terminators.
Also, I think that it's unusual, the rights that are reverting back, because there's normally when there's a rights of a film or a franchise or something like that, not to do with a film or sequels being made, it's if you don't start production of a film by a certain time, because that kind of extends the lease on the rights. So this is a different kind of thing to, for example, X-Men with Fox and a lot of the Marvel properties, because they're on that kind of thing where if they start producing a film, they don't even have to release it. If they start production on a film, then it extends the lease of the rights. That apparently doesn't happen here. So they've got to get the films done, get them made, get everything done, and get them released before the rights go back to Cameron.
I wonder if it's James Cameron's ever intention to go back and make another Terminator film. If that's the reason, if that's what he put in, like a contract with Paramount, or he made that idea thinking that he would eventually go back to the series.
Well, as far as I remember, he actually was not interested in anything to do with Terminator films after he did the second one. He had the opportunity to be involved in Terminator 3. He wasn't interested. He didn't really want. He only got a credit on there basically because of the fact he created it. So it's like based on characters created by, and the thing of the whole Terminator franchise is he washed his hands of it. He didn't want anything more to do with it then. I don't know if maybe that's changed now. He's seen, obviously there's been a couple more films, there's been another series, and there's going to be another trilogy, but I can't see him wanting to go back to that because he doesn't really do that. It's rare for him to make a sequel. He did with Terminator and Terminator 2, but he doesn't really make a film and then follow it up with another one. He moves off, and he's doing it with Avatar, which is an odd thing too, because Avatar seemed kind of like it was a one-off thing. It didn't really seem like it's going to have a sequel. We'll see how that pans out, but I can't see him going back to Terminator, I'm afraid.
But what would happen with the Terminator series then is they're just going to languish there, just sit collecting dust, and there are going to be no more Terminator films just because Mr. High and Mighty, James Cameron, is thinking, well, I'm not going to touch it, so nobody else is going to get it.
Well, I mean, he's got that right. It's up to him, and there are some franchises that should be left, done, that's it, no more, and go on, find something else.
But what would you rather see? Like 3 sequels to Avatar or another Terminator film?
Putting it that way, if it was by James Cameron, then yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing another one after he did. I mean, still, the Terminator is better than Terminator 2, but Terminator 2 is just still one of those kids from my teenage years that blew me away.
Yeah, and Avatar, I'm not even eager to see an Avatar 2 because Avatar is one of those films where it captivated the audience because what it did, it was a technological marvel. Yet when you watch it more than twice, it becomes a bore fest because you can see past the things that he created in the film and then look at the story, and it's such a meandering story that I don't want to see that for a second, third and fourth time. To be honest, I even though I hated Salvation, didn't like Terminator Salvation at all, I'd rather see another Terminator film done by James Cameron than another Avatar film.
Well, I mean, we're going to go on this a bit long, so I'll be quick, but basically the whole thing was that Cameron is that if you look at most of his films, he has a whole thing about anti-nuclear armament in his films. If you look, especially at The Abyss, is all about people who have a nuke and that happens. Terminator is about preventing a nuclear holocaust that's happened because of the machine, and the second one is obviously a sequel of that, an extension of that. And the whole thing of the Terminator franchise with Cameron was all this thing of that the future's not set. You can stop this. You can prevent it from happening. But then obviously the third one changed that and made it all a thing of no, it's always going to happen. There's just differences in how it's going to happen. You can't stop it. So it kind of had a different change in the message, which I think is also something that's maybe going to have put him off, because it's not the message behind it that he wanted to get out originally.
All right, let's move on with some more movie news. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Mama director Andreas Muschietti has been confirmed as the director of the Shadow of Colossus film. The film has been in production for around about 5 years now, and it's only just gotten its director.
I actually have the game. I bought it ages ago when I saw it was in a film. It was in Reign Over Me.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually seeing that. I've never played it.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is a strange game because the fact that it doesn't have very much combat in it. You control a character who's out to try and bring his girlfriend back to life by slaughtering 12 huge massive beasts, Colossus, because they supposedly have this essence which is able to resurrect her. And so the only other character apart from him in the game itself and the big massive monsters is his horse. That's the only other character inside the game. So I don't know how they're going to tackle this in movie form, because there isn't any other enemies in the film apart from these 12 big massive Colossus, and that could become very repetitive in a movie format, especially a movie that's maybe going to only be a couple hours long, considering that the game is around about 12, 14 hours long, and the way he tackles each one of the Colossus takes around about an hour, hour and a half, because you have to find different routes and paths to be able to tackle them, because each one of them is different. So I don't know if they're going to strip some of the Colossus out of it or make it into more than one film, but I don't see how this can be transferred into a film.
Well, that's what happens with most game adaptations to film. A lot of them are generally quite rubbish and poor, but hopefully now we're at a level of writing for films, majority of the time, where people can actually come up with something creative and do something different that will work.
Yeah, the one I would have gone with in the series is Ico. Ico would have been a much more easier, much more better film to tackle game-wise, because Ico is very similar in context, where you've only got a couple of characters, but in this case it's two human characters on screen, where a prince has to escort this princess through this castle and stop her from getting killed by these ghost demons. That would have made a much more better film, especially coming from Andreas Muschietti, who did Mama. He would have been able to handle that movie much better than Shadow of the Colossus.
Maybe
so I think
follow it up with that.
They should have gone with Ico first rather than Shadow of the Colossus. But I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical. The only movie video game that I'm looking forward to adaptation is the World of Warcraft one.
That's the thing is with that is it's just too big to put in a film. I think you got the whole thing of you're gonna get like Dungeons and Dragons again.
But it's going to be directed by Duncan Jones, who did Source Code and Moon, so he can handle that.
Yeah, he is a visionary director. I would agree with that, but I still think it's too much. It's like trying to put too much into one thing. They're going to have to make it a trilogy if they do it. They can't make it as one film.
Well, it's such a huge, massive, expansive universe. You can pick a lot from it anyway, so it can please a lot of fans, considering how much there is in the game and how much scope there is in the game. More news. Comedian Dax Shepard is to write, direct and star in the big screen adaptation of the TV programme Chips. Shepard will play the role of Officer John Baker, with Michael Penner set to play the iconic role of Frank Poncho Poncherelli.
This is going to be one of those horrible comedy remakes of a TV series, isn't it?
I didn't like Chips.
I remember growing up with Chips, and I don't really remember watching it that much, but I did watch it as something I caught every now and again. I don't remember it in detail. I mean, I was kind of brought back to that recently a bit with the Chops clip in the second Planes film, which was the best thing about the film. But it's not anything that I'm like, I'm really looking forward to this. It's not like another film, which I believe you have a piece of news coming up, which is an adaptation of a TV show from my childhood.
Yep, and it's been announced that Denzel Washington has joined the cast of The Magnificent Seven. The actor will team up with Equalizer director Antoine Fuqua on the project. Sony who were distributing the film, are planning to turn it into a franchise. A release date is yet to be announced for The Magnificent Seven. So it's sort of like taking the Magnificent Seven Western one with Yul Brynner, etc., mixing it with the director of The Equalizer, which is out on October, I think
26th,
it is.
September 26th.
Yes, September 26th. So,
yeah, I mean, it's another remake. Do we need it? No. Will it be good? Well, no. In the hands of Anton Fuqua, because I mean, if you go back and look at Anton Fuqua's work he's done before, he did basically already make the I forgot the name of it. What is it? Seven. I've just blanked on it. What film is it he's making?
You're
just saying it. I've just completely blanked and so.
Oh, he's doing The Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven. Yeah, I just blanked on it. Yeah, the thing is, he basically did The Magnificent Seven in Tears of the Sun. Essentially the same story.
Well, he's now going to be involved in the Magnificent Seven remake and franchise because Sony want to turn it into a franchise.
Because you know how there are so many there are only so many ideas. Depending on who you speak to, I think it's between 7 ideas and 13 ideas. That every film will go into one of these 13 or 7 categories, and obviously, the Magnificent Seven is Seven Samurai, which is sort of that genre,
Akira Kurosawa kind of film,
and it's that kind of thing that you have all these characters that come together and they find themselves in a situation and have to defend people and stuff. So it's that kind of a thing that's been done again and again and again and again in so many different films, so many different variations. But obviously, he's done it, as I say, Tears of the Sun. He's kind of done it already. So to go back and actually do it as a Western, I mean, I'd love to see someone do it. Actually call it Magnificent Seven and have it set present day Magnificent Seven. Do something different with it. Do a Sherlock with it. Don't just do the same thing. Don't just do what Gus Van Sant did with Psycho.
We'll see what happens with it. Right, let's get on to the UK box office top 10. And at number 10 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, really great sequel. Matt Reeves, I think it wasn't it, who did this?
Yeah.
Who didn't do the original, didn't do the first reboot of the franchise, but has done a fantastic follow-up with this. Great performances from the characters, also the ape characters in particular, and really worth seeing if you enjoyed the first one. If you haven't seen it, then see the first one quickly, then go and see this at the cinema while it's still on, because it is big screen. You should see it. Yeah,
and this is probably the final week it'll be out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Number 9 is Into the Storm,
which is another thing I enjoyed for the big screen aspect of it. It won't have any of that punch it does. It is this really terribly written dialogue, horrible thing at the start, which is just introducing you to the characters, and you're just sitting there going, get to the tornadoes, because that's all you really want. That bit at the end, fantastic, loved it. I was gripping my chair, loved it. I didn't care about the characters, I just loved to see it. But the rest of the film is kind of pointless and annoying and irritating, and as much as all the characters can be from a disaster movie where it's setting them all up.
Yeah, and personally for me is it was boring, and I can't believe I'm saying that a disaster film was boring, because I do have it's sort of like with really cheesy zombie films, I have a soft spot for them. So I quite like to sit down and just completely leave my brain beside me and watch a no-brainer movie, a cheesy zombie film. And disaster films are sort of like the same. I think Sci-Fi Channel do apart from these Sharknadoes and stuff like that, which are really annoying, they do sort of like have a knack of creating these really cheesy, over-the-top disaster movies, and I quite like them. Into the Storm, though, it bored me.
Let me ask you this then. Into the Storm, or I'm forgetting names of things. What was the one with Jan de Bont did? Twister. Into the Storm or Twister?
Twister by far.
No, Twister. I'm sorry, because I just didn't care any. The same thing. I had a problem with the characters in Twister. I didn't like any of them, and I thought the setups were boring. So
Twist easily by far. It's a much more better structured film. Because this one, it's just using the the found footage ilk, even though in my opinion it's not a found footage movie. It's using that kind of thing to try and add more of a human element to it, but it didn't work at all because it just exposed the amount of plot holes that is in the film. But again, it's another one of those things where we could be here all night. So at number 8 is a new entry for As Above, So Below.
I haven't seen this.
Yes, I will not go into the ranty kind of thing that I did on last week's show about Philosopher's Stones and stuff like that. I'm not going to bore the death out of you. The problem with As Above, So Below is it doesn't get started until when it gets to its craziness, and that's in the last 20 minutes of the film. It is a claustrophobic kind of bang movie, and if you've got a fear of like claustrophobia closed in spaces, or you're not a fan of movies where they make loud noises to make people jump, then I don't think you'll quite like this film. But for me, it tried to be like the ultimate movie of this genre, and that's The Descent, and it got nowhere near it. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even get near The Descent 2. And The Descent 2 is a weaker sequel. But I still quite like The Descent 2. The Descent 2 still have got the brilliant claustrophobic feel to it. This didn't.
One thing I would ask, because my other half went and saw this, and she wasn't really impressed with it, although that was maybe down to certain people in the same screen that annoyed her during it. But one of the things she did say is she hated the filming of it, the way it was shot and filmed with the whole thing of the head cameras and stuff like that sort of thing. She found that very, very irritating. Was that just her, or do you find that as well?
I don't mind that, but if you try, I think the way that their reasoning behind that was to make it more claustrophobic. But again, going back to The Descent, Neil Marshall handled that brilliantly without using that kind of thing, without using the gimmick of cameras on top of helmets. He managed to shoot a movie in such closed-in spaces, again, with the film Buried. You can shoot a movie and give it a claustrophobic, really nasty feel to it by just shooting it naturally rather than shooting it on shaky cameras or head cams. You don't need a gimmick. So I agree with her on that front. Number 7 is How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yeah, I mean, what more can we say? It's been hanging around forever because it's that fantastic. It is better than the first one, which was great in its own right. This one is just even more so.
Number 6 is a new entry for If I Stay.
Haven't seen this. I was going to try and see it last week, but it came down to a choice between seeing that or seeing one of my films this week. So unfortunately, it's been sort of left by the side.
Yeah, I haven't seen it neither. All I know, it's a drama starring Chloe Grace Moretz, who's involved in a car accident. She's then put into a coma, and for some reason she leaves her body and tries to help the people inside the hospital that she's at. It's a romantic drama, the kind of movies that's been churned out over the last few months. So The Fault in Our Stars.
Is it based on a book or not? Is it? Do you know?
I think it might be based on a book, like most of them are, but it's trying to be like The Fault in Our Stars, and from what we've been hearing, it's not too bad. But we need to see it for ourselves to pass proper judgment on it. And number 5 is the best summer movie, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Maybe the best movie of the year, possibly. I mean, it's doing fantastic. Yeah. I've seen it. No?
Not for me, no. There's a couple of films. It's in my top 5, but there is a couple of...
top 5 as well.
There's a couple of films that I've seen which is slightly better than this. One of them being a film that you really do need to see, and that's Boyhood.
I do need to see that, but yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. It's Marvel doing something different, which is, I mean, it's, you got to give them quips. They come after having done all those films, they then do one that's standalone. It has connections with the others, but you don't have to have seen any of them, and it's new and it's exciting and it's fun and it's ridiculously funny.
Number 4 is a new entry for Sin City: A Dame to Kill For,
which I enjoyed, but not anywhere near as much as the first one. I saw it in a double bill with the first one, and here's the thing: originally, I'm not a massive fan of the first one, but when I saw the first one, because I never saw the first one in the cinema originally, I only saw it on DVD. But seeing the first one again on the cinema before it, I enjoyed the first one a lot more this time round. And then when I saw the second one, the second one is just kind of the extension. It's not anywhere as good. It feels as if it doesn't feel like Sin City 2. It feels like Sin City 1.5, and it basically, it's not put together with the same care and attention to detail that the first one is.
To me, it doesn't even feel like Sin City 1.5. It feels like the parts that they left on the cutting room floor. It just felt like a major miss. Like Mickey Rourke's character, he had such a malevolence, such a toughness, but a part of him that was very like soft with him in the first film. You knew that there was a weakness there somewhere, and if you dug beneath the surface, he wasn't as violent as his outer character made him to be. Whereas in the sequel, he just felt like he was just there to gruffly say a few lines and look menacing. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is misused in the movie. His little section of the film is only about 5 minutes long, and it just, I think it would have been much better if it was stretched out more so, and he was given more time to run. Eva Green's naked in the movie a lot, and that's not off-putting, but it is quite off-putting the amount of times that she is naked in the film. And it's just, I felt like it was a miss, because it just felt like elements from the first movie that they couldn't find places to put them in, and they just thought, instead of us making like loads of extras on the DVD or Blu-ray, let's make a film out of it.
Another thing as well with that is that even though the first one is out of order, the sequences are not chronological. The same thing happens with the second one, but there's no way. Even having seen the first one, and the second one back to back, the second one still had moments where you're kind of going, "Hang on a minute, does this happen before this or after this or when?" You're trying to work it out. So it's misleading and confusing for that issue, more so than the first film as well.
Yeah, it was nice to actually give a female character such malevolence, but it's just, she became repetitive. And Jessica Alba, she's just there to wiggle her bum a lot. That's all to cry and wiggle her bum a lot. I know, again, that's not a bad thing, but come on, at least give her a bit of depth. Then number 3 is In Between Us 2.
I haven't seen this. I probably won't see it if I can help it.
Yeah, it's like a film that you're going to review in about 2 minutes' time, a couple of minutes' time. It's just 90% sex jokes, 10% a bit of drama to try and make you like the characters, but I couldn't care less about them, to be honest. And number 2 is a new entry for Let's Be Cops.
So basically, it's essentially, it is Ride Along, but done again with two guys who, buddy movie, want to be cops but aren't cops. Oh, well, let's do this. We'll pretend to be cops and get in over our heads and then become really serious and actually become heroes. And yeah, seen it before, done loads of times. I'm out.
Yeah, it's just taking two characters from that E4 program, New Girl, and giving them their own film. It's like they thought, oh, those two work really well in that TV program. Let's make them moronic, stupid, come up with a really, really over-the-top idea, and it's going to be the most funniest film of the year. By the way, we're going to have a drama thriller element to the end of it just to give them more character. Yeah, it's terrible. And at number 1 is Lucy,
which I really enjoyed. I mean, I'll say it again. I said it before. The whole thing of it being kind of like, I see it being too cerebral for a lot of audience to like it, which I'm really glad it's still at number 1, which means a lot of people are going to see it. But I think that some of the people who have been really, really disappointed with it, because it does have a disappointing side to it, but people have been really, really sort of negative about it. I think are viewing it, going in expecting one thing, and it's not that. It's completely the opposite, and it's very much, I think, like Danny Boyle's Sunshine, in that it's a film that people will look back on and it will get a big cult following when it comes out on DVD.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case with me, because I'm a big, huge fan of Sunshine. I think it's one of Danny Boyle's best films, alongside 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later for me is his best film. Sunshine for me is his second best film. Even though the ending's a bit missed with a lot of people, I actually quite liked the malevolent ending. With Lucy, it's ironic that a movie where it's about a character that uses 100% of her brain, in my opinion, I think you only need around about 10% of your brain to use for this film, because even though it can be complex, it's explained properly by Morgan Freeman, because they're getting the right actor to do that. He could just read out the phone book and make it interesting, because he just has that that voice which just draws you in. And so
starting at A, we begin with the
you can understand what he's saying, and you believe what he's saying, which makes, I think, the film much more easier to follow. I know a lot of people don't seem to like the way it plods into the final third. Mark, especially from Following the Nerd, he didn't like the film at all, and he found like the last third of the film is terrible. But I can understand why people have that reservation, because it just switches from it's her being sort of like taken aback to just being the ultimate kick-ass force, because she's allowed to be omnipotent in the end.
Omnipotent.
That's what I said. Omnipotent.
You said omnipotent.
Omnipotent. I'm from the northeast. Leave me alone.
One thing I'm just thinking about, because it's not a long film. It is only 90 minutes. In fact, it's 89 minutes, isn't it? It's not an hour and a half. And that's obviously with the credits and such. I wonder if there's been more left on the cutting room floor, which will be put back in when it comes out on DVD, as so often happens now, and then people might see it differently.
I really hope it's not more Terrence Malick-esque kind of stuff, because it definitely didn't need any of that. That was just confusing. Right, let's get on with our first review of the night. Brilliant way to start, by the way.
Yeah, great movie, which is Sex Tape. It's directed by Jake Kasdan. It has Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel playing a married couple who have a couple of kids. Their married life, everything seems fine with them. Their kids are sort of growing up. They're only sort of little. I'm not sure they actually said at what age they are, but sort of little sort of 5-year-olds kind of age. And things seem to be going fine. She sends off the kids to her mother's for a night, sets aside a whole weekend for them, so they can have some fun and have an actual sexual relationship. They haven't had sex for a long time. But unfortunately, when they try and do this, things don't quite work out. They get sort of try this, try that. It doesn't quite work. We get to sort of see that in not full on, but quite graphic detail of things not working or things not happening, and it's like, yeah, this isn't working. Let's try something else. So what they decide to do is they decide we're going to record a sex tape, and they do this. Jason Segel's character works as a DJ for a company, so he's always updating his computers with his record track list collection, which he does on his iPads and such, and keeps getting iPads, which he then updates with the newest stuff and passes on the old ones to people who no longer needs them. Unfortunately, what's happened is that the sex tape has been uploaded to the cloud and has gone out to all of the devices which were synced with it. Here's a clip.
How do you forget to erase your sex tape?
Because it kept slipping my mind, and then the next thing I knew, it went up. It went up to the cloud.
And you can't get it down from the cloud?
Nobody understands the cloud. It's a mystery. Look, all that's happened here is there's been a very minor syncing mishap.
This is not minor.
You know what, Annie? I'm on there too.
Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to watch you having sex. You said it yourself. Nobody cares about the guy. It's the woman that has to live with it forever.
So, of course, they have to go out and try and recover all of these iPads from the different people they've given them to and get it back. And shenanigans ensue, as you can imagine. Here's the thing with sex tape. It's one of these things where they've obviously someone's had an idea. They go, right, we'll do this. And then they go, that's a good idea. That gives us 20 minutes of a film. What are we going to do for the other 100 minutes to make it up to 2 hours, or 90 minutes or whatever to take it up? We'll do this and it'll get out of hand, and we'll do this and it'll happen, and they'll go, oh no, and this will happen, and it kind of just sprawls out of control and kind of doesn't have anywhere it's going. This happens and they go, oh, we've got this, and it's literally, it really kind of stalls at certain parts. It has moments that did make me laugh, but not really, I don't think as intended to laugh. I wasn't laughing at what they were trying to be funny. I was laughing at just things that happened that I found funny. That thing was, something happened, or you've seen the trailer. As much as I've seen the trailer and I laughed at the trailer, I still laughed in the film. The dog gets put on that runs across and slips on a treadmill and ends up smashing against the wall, and he uses his phone to ask Siri for help, and Siri says, I found Starbucks, and that's in the trailer, and that kind of stuff. So it's one of these ones that it has moments in it which aren't really funny, but did make me laugh, but I'd seen them in the trailer. So it's got this whole thing as well. You've got this, they're trying to get this whole thing with Rob Lowe is one of the people they're trying to get it back from, and he plays this really weird character. The kind of thing that's just like, okay, so that's weird, okay, and you're going there, and you're going there, and you're going there, and you kind of just, at the end of it, you go, well, yeah, I laughed, but I didn't really love it. I didn't really laugh. It's not like going back to things like The Hangover. A lot of people don't like it. I know you don't like The Hangover.
I hate it.
I really liked the first Hangover film. This is not like the first Hangover film. I did not love it and laugh at it like the first Hangover film. I didn't despise it like the second Hangover film, but I kind of just, like the third Hangover film.
Yeah, see, the problem with Sex Tape is the dog steals the show. The scene that involves the dog, which attacks Jason Segel's character after he's trying to retrieve the iPad from Rob Lowe's house, he steals the show by a million margin, because the fact that it's not down to the chemistry between Jason Segel and Cameron Diaz's characters, because it's not too bad, even though you look at them both and think, yeah, you're really going to be able to get her as your wife. It's not too bad, and they play off each other quite well. I think they work much better under better guises, under better writing, under a much better film than what is produced here. It's just, one, it made me uncomfortable what Cameron Diaz was saying, because you very rarely see her in that kind of context. And there is a nice scene which involves Cameron Diaz's bottom, which is again one of the highlights of the film. But it's just, the film itself is morose and moronic. It tries to think that it's funny by doing all these silly things about the sex tape uploading to the cloud and him trying to retrieve it. And yeah, it annoyed me, because the fact that it wasn't funny and what it was trying to do just didn't work.
It may also take the cake more than Transformers for the most obvious number of product placements in there, especially for Apple devices. It's shocking how many there are, and I know it makes up a part of the story, but you don't have to have them so front and centre in the film so much.
Yeah, it'll never be beaten by the internship is the one which is the most product placement for Google. It's a Google advert. But I completely agree with you. It's more annoying than watching music videos these days where all of them seem to have Beats pills in them. They seem to be sponsored by Dr. Dre. So with this one, it seems to be like Apple is infecting absolutely everything because they've bought Beats now. And so it's just, oh, by the way, we have to have an iPad in this movie in every shot in around about 5 minutes time, and in the next 5 minutes we haven't had an iPad yet, let's show 2 this time. So I understand there with the product placements, but it's a film that's just forgettable. It's not an annoying film, it's just completely forgettable. It doesn't deserve a rant because it's not good enough to get a rant.
Okay,
right.
What will get a rant?
Nothing this week, to be honest, so I'm probably letting a few people down on that point. Right, next up is The Guest. It's directed by Adam Wingard, who did You're Next, and he also did VHS 1 and 2. He's not involved in VHS Viral, which I can't wait to see because I love that series. And it stars Dan Stevens, who was in Downton Abbey. He actually made his debut in Hollyoaks. So it's an actor who's gone from Hollyoaks to Downton Abbey to a film like this. And he plays a character in David, and he's a soldier who introduced himself to the Peterson family. And he tells them, he knocks on their door one day, that he was a friend of their son Caleb. Caleb was involved in an accident while both him and Caleb were on duty, and Caleb unfortunately was killed. And he made sure that he would go to the Peterson family and reassure them that he loved them, he loved each one of the members of the family, and that he was just there to help them if they needed any help whatsoever. And the family they just don't want him there, apart from the mother. The mother is the only one who thinks, well, I would like to get to know you, wonder how my son was, and the rest of the family, yeah, they can sense something wrong. However, they start to grow to like David the more he stays there, and they ask him to stay a couple of days rather than him going out to Florida to try and start a life of his own. So he stays there and he starts to help out the family. He helps out the son because he's getting bullied at school. He helps out the father because the father has a problem with his work and he wants to become manager, but that's not going to happen. However, it's the daughter who is slightly skeptical with him. Here's a clip.
Luke, I need to take a shower. Luke! Luke, come on, I need...
I'm sorry.
No, I am sorry. I thought Luke was in there.
I guess I better go get dressed.
Yeah, you should probably do that.
So yeah, just getting a message in the live chat there from Kat saying the shower scene in the movie was pretty damn good, and it's just ironic that that was the clip I ended off playing. So yeah, all of a sudden though, David starts to show his true colours and what he's like, and you start to find out why he's there and the ulterior motives behind him. Now, the best thing about the film is Dan Stevens. The way he plays David, there's a bar fight scene where he's taken the son of the family to this bar where a lot of the jocks go and drink when they're not supposed to because they're underage. And he orders drinks for the girls and the boys. He gives the boys the girly kind of drink, and he gives the girls the manly drink. And now the boys, they don't like this, so they walk over to him, throw the drink in his face, and a barroom scene breaks out. But before he does that, the way he wipes off the alcohol off his face is he's really angry, and then he just wipes it off into a malevolent smile. And then he just goes to town on them, and that's what his character is like. 1 minute, he's really happy to speak to the family, and he wants to tell them about what Caleb was like. And then he instantly clicks and switches between a Jekyll and Hyde. And Dan Stevens handles that brilliantly. Adam Wingate handles the whole film brilliantly, because in the last third of the film, it goes from being this malevolent thriller where you're wondering what David is going to do next to something that's completely insane and off the wall. And that was sort of like the same with Your Next. Your Next happened like that. The last third of the film was nuts. And that's the case with The Guest. And this is the reason why I love Adam Wingate's films, because he's not afraid to just go, you know what, I'm making a film for me, and I'm hoping that people will enjoy it. And I definitely enjoyed it. The Guest is a really good film. It keeps you on the edge of your seat with wondering what David's going to do. And then as soon as he's flipped, and when you find out why he's there, that's when you start to get the popcorn stuff, the enjoyable, over-the-top, nasty violence. And I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as you did. But I got to say, I did like it. I came out of it kind of going, it was weird, but I liked it. It's very unconventional, which is what marks it out above a lot of other films this year. And the thing about it is that there is this weirdness to it that as you're going along, it has a weird 80s vibe to it, like I think a film in the DVD section that you're reviewing later as well. And it also has this thing of where there is moments where it generated laughter, but kind of intentionally, unintentionally, with the way characters behave and the way they say things, and you kind of like, it's just the way someone reacts to something. It's not the way you would expect, but it's kind of like, yeah, okay, that was alright, and it's still, you kind of giggle and laugh and you go, you know, I wasn't expecting that, it made you smile. And then 2 seconds later, something else happens, you're just like, ooh, didn't expect that. So it's quite original, quite well done. I gotta say though, I don't know if I like it more than Your Next, which is the weird thing, 'cause I don't generally go for like slash films, but definitely you can tell it's the same director that did it. It's got the same style to it, and I do like that it is an indie film. It's a small film. It's not a big Hollywood film, but it does have big aspirations to be one.
Yeah, I just love the fact that you don't know what David is going to do next, to be honest, because he if you were in that same situation, you would feel exactly like the Peterson family. You would feel exactly like them, and it's just the way he's able to instantly switch between characters, because you do ultimately find out what he's there for, what his intentions are. And I just felt it is that nervy feel that you need to feel. You need to feel on edge, and you need to feel, what's he going to do next? Sort of like a Hannibal Lecter kind of character in a way.
Yeah, but
if you pushed him too far, he is going to snap.
But a bit more, a bit less obvious.
The only thing I didn't like was the ending. I didn't like the way it ended, because I just felt like, I can't say what I was going to say there, but I just didn't like the way it ended.
Yeah, although I do wonder if that means we're going to get a sequel.
Yeah, I agree with the soundtrack as well. I really like the soundtrack. But yeah, I just did not like the way it ended. But everything else, I really like this film. I love Adam Wingate's stuff. VHS, I love them. The films, they're the best portmanteau films I've seen for quite a while. And Your Next is such a witty film which makes you just gah a few times about what he can get away with. And this film, it's his first 15-rated film as well. And it doesn't feel like it, considering some of the violence in the movie. It is quite strong.
Yeah, and there was a couple of moments that got ooh reaction from the audience,
which is needed in that kind of film. You need a ooh kind of grimace. I was hoping that there wasn't going to be an ankle slicing scene or something like that, because if that was the case, then you would have definitely heard me go ooh. I hate that kind of thing. But next film,
talking of
completely different.
Talking of ankles and feet, gonna go on to the 100-foot journey.
Yeah,
it's a connection.
It's sort of.
Yeah, it's directed by I don't know if it's Lassie or Lasse Hallström.
Lasse.
I can never pronounce foreign names, so apologies for getting it wrong.
It's Lasse Hallström.
Lasse Hallström, yeah. It is based on the book by Richard C. Moraes. I give up. But you have this movie following a Indian family who, it starts out, as we're introduced to them, they've been sort of had to flee from their homeland because of the fact there was an election and there was a big sort of outcry of people there and rioting. They ended up having to leave their country. They were then sort of refugees in London for a while, living in a horrible place which didn't suit them at all. Decided to then travel across the world and to try and find where they could find their own place. The movie has them driving along, the brakes fail on the truck, they end up sort of crashing and finding themselves in France, in this little quaint village where they find this old restaurant that's for sale. It's closed down because of the fact it's opposite this big magnificent French cuisine sort of amazing restaurant that's run by Madame Mallory, who's played by Helen Mirren. The head of the family, Papa, played by Om Puri, has decided, okay, this is where we will make our stand. We will be a family here. We will open an Indian restaurant in France, and this is what we will do. Here's a clip.
Do you hear me up there? I say no. Don't try to steal my children.
I will report you, Mr. Kadam, for making too much noise.
And I will report you for attempted child abduction.
Have you even asked the boy what he wants?
You deliberately seduced him. You seduced his mind with your awful, tasteless, empty sauces, with your pitiful little squashed bits of garlic.
That is called subtlety of flavor.
It's called meanness of spirit. If you have a spice, use it. Don't sprinkle it. Spoon it in.
What you do not seem to understand, that there is such a thing as enough. Enough is enough. Arrête.
Yes, enough of you. Always up there like a queen or something. You tell him it's classical. What is classical?
Classical comes from the word class.
Ah.
And that is what he will learn in my kitchen. He will learn how to cook with class.
So, here's the thing with the 100-foot journey. It's 2 hours long. It feels like a 100-year journey. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I really enjoyed it. I found it to be, and this is the weird thing, it's a PG, so it's not like it's a hard thing, it's not like it's an easy thing to come across a PG film that's good and has a good story to it, good characters, good acting, and good writing. And it has all of that. It's not absolutely fantastic. It's actually a little bit short. It feels as if it could be reaching a bit higher, really. It kind of has... I'm not saying it has Oscar aspirations, but it has Oscar-like aspirations. And if they pushed it a bit more, they could have maybe made it into a big Oscar thing. But it's a kind of, it's below that level, but it's not bad. It's just, it doesn't really try to reach for anything, which is maybe the film's problem with the pacing, because it feels so long because of the fact that it's kind of like the ending of one of the Lord of the Rings films, where it basically goes on, you have an ending, then an ending, then an ending, then an ending, then an ending. In this, you have a story, then a story, then a story, then a story, then a story. And it kind of has too much going on in it. And it's not bad for that, it's just the fact that it means that it does honestly feel... I kept going, have I been watching it 2 hours yet? Because I knew it was 2 hours going in, and I honestly lost track of time. I didn't check the time during it, though, I have to say. I was entertained, and I was in it. Just at more than one occasion, I thought, is this about to end? I don't know, and then it didn't, and so I like it. I had fun with it. It did make me chuckle in a lot of places. It's not a comedy. It is a drama, but it has moments throughout it that will make you giggle. And it has likeable characters and enjoyable things. And it's one of those kind of... It's not a kid's film, but it's one of those kind of family films. And I enjoyed it. But it's not my movie of the week, I'll tell you that now.
Do you think it's another one of those Lasse Hallström safe movies? Because apart from, I would say, with the Cider House Rules and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, he's content over the last 15 years, which included things like Chocolat and Hayachi Dog's Tail and Dear John, have just been so safe and melodramatic that it's just starts to become nauseating, to be honest.
Well, it is. I mean, the thing is as well that there are moments in it that are kind of nauseating, but it's to do with the characters as you meet them, and then they start off as horrible people at first, and then they mellow, and they get on, and it's kind of, it has those nauseating moments of you just want to sometimes get up and hit the person on the screen because they're so horrible. But then as the movie goes on, they soften, and you come to liken them. You come to like to them. So it does have these moments of almost melodrama, but doesn't go there. It stops itself from doing that.
Yeah, well, just before I go on to the last review, I've just seen there that last week's show reported that Minority Report is getting turned into a TV series. Well, Fox has snapped up the rights to it, so they're gonna distribute the TV series. So it'll be on FX.
Was it Fox that made the film? It was, wasn't it?
I think so, but yeah, they're definitely going to do it, and it's going to probably be shown on FX by the looks of things.
Okay,
this
country.
So, yeah. Final film of the week is Before I Go to Sleep. It's directed by Rowan Joffrey, and it's one of those kind of films where the less you know about it, the better. So I'll not give very much away. It stars three big, huge, massive actors in Nicole Kidman, Colin Firth and Mark Strong. And Nicole Kidman, she plays a character who suffers from a rare form of amnesia, the fact that every single morning that she wakes up, she completely forgets about what happened the day prior. As a matter of fact, what happened most of her life. She's able to do things like be able to know how to use a pen or a kettle or just the basic things. But when it comes to remembering people, remembering events, remembering anything that happens, she just has trouble with it. And so every morning she wakes up in the bed with her husband, who's played by Colin Firth, and here's a clip which just explains a little bit about her amnesia.
You had an accident. It was a bad accident. You had head injuries. And you have problems remembering things.
What things? What?
Everything. You store up information for a day. When you wake up in the morning, it's all gone. You're back to your early 20s. You'll be okay. Just trust me.
I'm scared.
I know. It's all right. I love you. I love you, Kristen.
And so while her husband, Ben, goes off to work, every single morning she receives a phone call from a doctor who's played by Mark Strong, saying that she needs to check a camera because she's been given this camera by him because she's secretly been seeing him, and she's been recording a diary every day about her events so she can piece together what's happening. And the more she starts to piece together, the more a puzzle becomes apparent about how she managed to get this amnesia that she's got. And things couldn't be what it seems. And she discovers elements about her past which can change things. One of them involves a friend who miraculously she just disappeared and she lost track of her. And then all of a sudden she comes back into the limelight. So the thing with Before I Go to Sleep, it is one of those films where you need to not listen to what people say about the movie because you need to actually discover the film out for yourself. If it's described to you, it gives away a lot of the film. And the whole point of these kind of movies is for you to watch it so you can piece together the puzzle, so you can discover any plot twists, any turns in the film, because then it makes it much more interesting rather than it being spoiled. So that's why we're trying to keep a bit, not describe the movie that much. It's very well acted. Apart from, in my opinion, Mark Strong, I think out of the three, he's the weakest one. It's just because his character isn't developed that much. Colin Firth is very good in the film. He's just all the way through the film. He's got a stoic look on his face, and in the first, I would say, 20 minutes of the movie, you really do not only feel sorry for Nicole Kidman's character, but you also feel majorly sorry for him, having to explain to her every single day who she is, how old she is, rather than, because she thinks that she's in her early 20s, rather than being in her 40s. And he has to explain all of this and give her notes. He has a whiteboard up with everything that she's allergic to and things like that. And so having to do that takes a lot in his character, and so I think his character is really well handled. Nicole Kidman grated on me a little bit at the start, but the more the film played out, the more I got into her character and the more I was interested and applied her, and the more I wanted to find out what really happened to her. So there are elements in the movie which I guessed the way it was going down, and a lot of people might not do that, and I think the movie will work much better for those kind of people rather than the people who can guess how the film is going to play out. But it's an interesting film with an idea that's been done multiple times before, but this is one of the stronger films in the amnesia idea film. But it's a good film with a few problems.
I agree largely, but I'd say that even though, I mean, I try and write stuff as well, films, and I normally do see things coming like this, and I didn't see it coming, and neither did my other half went and saw it with. We both enjoyed it and really did not see the last half of the film coming, did not see it plan out, and I thought that was very well handled. The one thing as well I will say is that it's not a long film, so it doesn't hang around too long. It doesn't stretch out things unnecessarily too long. It's only 90-something minutes, and that's another thing that's good about it, that it's not... I mean, a lot of time I used to think a long film always meant a really good film, but a short film can be just as good if it's well done and well plotted and well put together, and this is well put together.
And if you're wondering why it's a 15, wait until you get to the last 20 minutes, because there is a couple of scenes in the last 20 minutes of the film which is quite harsh, as a matter of fact.
It does have some strong language throughout it as well.
Yeah, but not those strong language bits could have just easily been taken out, whereas if you took out or messed around with the last 20 minutes of the film, it wouldn't have worked. It needed that brutality in it, because that's when you ultimately find out what happened to her. So it needs that oomph, that impact in there, and it is quite harrowing when you do discover it. You feel more sorry for her character even more when you get to the last part of the film. So it's Nicole Kidman getting back to her brilliant acting ways after supposedly the horrible Grace of Monaco, which we will unfortunately eventually have to review.
And her disappointing performance, not bad, but just disappointing performance in The Railway Man as well, which was also with Colin Firth, which is out on DVD and Blu-ray next week or the week after, I think.
It's not next week.
Next week. Well, if you can get it, we'll have to get you to review it, because it's a small British film, so we might have difficulty being able to see it before it's released.
Well, that's it for the cinema section of the show. We'll be right back with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show.
The From Page to Screen Moviecast. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys, going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
And we are back with this week's home releases on DVD and Blu-ray, which we're going to go through and have a look at DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and these new releases.
Yeah, comedy buddy frat house movie with bad neighbours, action remake with Brick Mansions, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, which is one of the last films starring Robin Williams, a small British thriller in plastic, and then another, we're going to use the small analogy again, another small film in Mum's Night Out, and the smallest movie of the week, Blue Ruin.
And as well as that, we will have our TV movies of the week. You already know that I've said one of mine, which, if you're listening live, started 5 minutes ago on Film 4, which is a shame you missed it, but it's on again on Saturday. Stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what film it is.
And mine aren't on Film 4. I'll just give you that.
But then also we'll have our movie of the week and the big shout-outs that we give out to normally at the end, as well as ending with a clip. As we've already mentioned the film, I might as well say we have a clip at the end of the show for The Equalizer, which comes out in a few weeks' time. But before that, let's go into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, starting at number 10 with The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. We'll just go over that because we'll get to that in a minute. And number 9 is Transcendence.
Yeah, it's Wally Pfister with a very interesting idea. He doesn't pull it off because it's in the hands of somebody, no offense to him, who's inexperienced in that kind of thing. He's able to bring, because he's a DP for Christopher Nolan, and so he's able to bring...
Just to explain to someone who doesn't realise, director of photography.
Yeah, he does all the pretty shots and all the fantastic vistas and things like that in the Batman films. All of these brilliant skyline shots and stuff like that, that's him. He's able to create those kind of things, and you can tell that in Transcendence. It has got that feel of a Wally Pfister DP movie. It just doesn't have a feel of a Wally Pfister directing movie because he can't handle an idea this big for his directorial debut. He shouldn't have. He should have tried something a little bit smaller.
I think it's let down as well in the editing of the film. At times feels very rushed, and at other times feels very slow. It's a very unevenly edited, and the story of it, I think the pacing of it is very off.
That's why he needed somebody like Christopher Nolan to help him out with the film. He should have had somebody like Christopher Nolan to help him out, because I think it would have been much more of a coherent movie.
New entry at number 8. I want to hear what you have to say about Thomas and Friends, Tale of the Brave.
I used to watch Thomas the Tank Engine when I was a kid. Does that help?
Not really. No, it's Thomas Tank Engine. They've done some kind of a new modern animation version of it. That's got in there. So I'm guessing this is one of those things that you see at the checkout in Tesco's and Sainsbury's and whatever other brand names there are available. But
I don't know why we fleeter over that anyway. We're not sponsored by anything specific.
No,
so
but I don't want one in particular.
Yeah, but if places like Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Morrison's or Asda or whatever are listening, anybody from there who are listening and didn't mind sponsoring us and give us free food, then we'll gladly pimp out your shop.
Okay, number 7 is the Lego Movie.
Yeah, it's awesome. I finally bought it as well. I bought it. I actually bought it. I got it from work for only £5. So I was stupid. I was really stupid not to buy it for that price.
Okay, and
it's awesome.
That's it. Okay, number 6 is Divergent.
Yeah, it's a really good film. I like The Hunger Games more so than Divergent, but the best thing about it is the fact that it doesn't feel like a Hunger Games knockoff, like Mortal Instruments City of Bones felt like, because I did not like that movie at all. And this one, it felt like it can survive without having to be tethered to the Hunger Games series. So from now on, I'm not actually going to refer it to a Hunger Games-esque movie. I'm going to refer it to as its own entity, because it deserves that more so than being latched onto the series of the Hunger Games. And it's got some really good acting. Shailene Woodley is proven to be a really good actress. She's really good in this. I'm hoping that she's going to be excellent in the Divergent sequel, and she's fantastic in The Fault in Our Stars. And it's got good pace to it, and it's got an interesting story, and you follow the character, which you need to in this kind of film, again, unlike Mortal Instruments City of Bones.
If you did manage, you were saying you're not going to reference it, you did manage to say it like 3 times.
I know, but I had to say it in reference to me referencing not seeing it. So if I go over the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 again and this film's in there, I will not mention the Katniss Everdeen film.
Okay, you heard it here first. Number 5 is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Don't know why this has managed to get back into the top 10. I think
it's been reduced to sort of the under £10 price in a lot of places.
It will still not make me buy it, because I think there's about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 movie stuffed into a 3-hour film, which is honestly, it is way too long, and it won't have my attention for that long. I think I probably will end up switching it off again. That's not to say that there's the film is bad. It's not. It's really good. It's just beyond stretching too far.
And it has some honestly comically funny moments in it that I was not prepared for when I saw it.
Yeah, and it shows that Jonah Hill does have good comic timing.
Another film's been hanging around in the chart way too long than it really should be. Number 4 is Frozen.
I don't own this. Again, that might surprise you, but I don't own it. Even though I loved Frozen, I don't intend to own it because it might seem slightly creepy.
Okay. New entry at number 3 for the Sons of Anarchy season 6, but that's TV shows.
I don't watch it.
Go over that. I haven't watched it either. I didn't get into it. Number 2, last week's number 1 movie, dropping down, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Third
best Marvel film. It's really well paced. It's third. First. Guardians of the Galaxy is better than this easily.
No, I disagree.
No, I definitely think Guardians of the Galaxy is a much better rounded film. That's not to say that this isn't. I think it's got a really well structured. It's very well structured. It's handled much better, and there's some interesting elements in the film. It's just when I watched it the second time, I was picking at it a bit more so than the first time, and so that's why I think I enjoyed Avengers Assemble more so the second time than Captain America. And I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy twice in the cinema, and I'm definitely going to buy it when it comes out. And so I loved that more so the second time. So that's why for me that's the best one, and this is the third best.
Okay, I disagree though. I think it's the first best Marvel film though. But that's my opinion. Number 1, new entry. So this week, of course, last week's big new film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, there's no contest in the fact that Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the number 1 film, considering what it went up against. Last week, we struggled to actually find another few films to review alongside The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
It was a bit of a weak release, and nothing decided to go up against it, really.
Yeah, I don't see why, because in my opinion, The Amazing Spider-Man is still falling into the plot holes and the pit holes of the first Amazing Spider-Man. Because I just felt like it was average. I didn't like Electro as a character. I thought it was very too cartoony, way too overly top cartoony. There are elements of the film which are very well handled. The emotional elements is brilliantly handled, and I enjoyed the scenes which involved Peter Parker and everybody else when he was just speaking to them as characters rather than just him as Superman. More so, and also I do like the DP.
Him as Superman.
Spider-Man.
You said Superman.
Spider-Man. I do like the DP in it as well, the web singing and stuff like that. I think that's handled brilliantly.
I think it's a better put together visual film than the first one, but it's not a better put together storytelling than the first one. And I like it. I like the sequences between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. I think they're really great. I think they are, but they're kind of like they're out of another film. It's kind of slows down, stops for those sequences, which I don't have as much of a problem with. But I get that some people have a problem with that. And it is too long, and it needs trimming, and it needs the villains really pumped up a little bit as well. So I agree mostly with what you're saying there, but I do like it, but I have nagging issues about it.
Yeah, I will not be adding it to my collection, even though I do have the 3D Blu-ray of The Amazing Spider-Man. I've never watched it, but I do have it.
I'm kind of mulling it over at the moment. I want to get it, but I'm just because I want to get the 3D version of it because it does have. I remember it having some decent 3D sequences in the cinema.
I didn't see it in 3D.
Okay, so on to this week's new releases. I'm going to start off with Bad Neighbours, or as it was called in the US, Neighbours. It was titled because of the fact retitled for that reason, obviously. This you have a film with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne playing a married couple who have recently had a kid. They're raising this baby. Everything seems to be going happy and fine, living in their house, and then a fraternity moves in next door. Things kind of get a bit out of hand, and they go over to them and say, you know, guys, if you see the trailer, you know, they go over there, please, keep it down, sort of thing. They don't, and it goes from sort of bad to worse when it turns out that the couple call the cops on them, even though they kind of made a deal with them. They would let them know first instead of calling the cops. Here's a clip.
What are you wearing? What are you doing?
Yeah. We're throwing a Robert De Niro party.
Oh.
I'm a taxi driver, De Niro.
Yeah, meet the fuck is De Niro. I'm watching you. I'm watching you.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Sam Jackson, from Jackie Brown.
Hooah!
Hooah!
That's Al Pacino. That's not even,
Send him a woman. Hey, when you called the cops, you violated the circle of trust, fucker.
We're sorry we called the cops, okay?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes.
No, you're
I
talking
don't see
to
anyone
me.
else here.
I don't see anyone else here
We're
either.
trying to talk to
Talking
you.
to me.
The path of the righteous man. That's the wrong Sam Jackson speech.
So here's the thing with Bad Neighbours. I have to say it made me laugh. Didn't make me laugh a lot, but it did make me laugh. And there were moments in it I wasn't expecting, and then it kind of went places as well. It went far further than I was expecting it to, and it goes a bit too far, which is kind of a thing that even the characters say at one point. Maybe we went a bit too far, and you kind of start realizing, kind of maybe you did. And I heard as well because originally the idea for the story was that it was Seth Rogen's character, just him and his buddies going up against the fraternity and then sort of, pranking each other back and forth and it getting out of hand. But then Seth Rogen's wife apparently read the script and said, it would be better if you made it and put it to be him and his wife and the two of them having to combat them. And I kind of think that's a bad idea. I think that's what doesn't work about it, is it being this couple. It's a nice idea and it starts it, but I think the way it's done and they play it out in the film doesn't work. The characters they're very flippy floppy in their decision of, we're going to do this, no we can't do this, let's do this, no we can't, but it's bad, we'll do it anyway, and that kind of thing. They don't really seem to have much of a backbone as to making their decisions, and you have these scenes in it which are, let's put it this way, it's riddled with jokes about human sexual organs. Far too many, far too often, the more and more it goes on, and there's some scenes in it which are genuinely sort of not creepy, but they're just kind of I can imagine, because I haven't seen this at cinema. I can imagine seeing this in the cinema. There would be bits that would maybe make the audience crack up in this kind of collective hysteria. But watching it on DVD and Blu-ray, not really the same. Doesn't have that much of an effect on it. So it's a bit ridiculous. The story gets dragged out far too long, even though it's not a long film. It's 97 minutes long, and it feels longer. And it's not terrible, it's just not great. It's very sort of middle of the road sort of thing. But I have to admit, I did laugh at it. Not the required number of times, but I did laugh.
Yeah, the thing is, one, you have to believe that Zac Efron is still in a fraternity. Yeah, you don't believe that. You believe that James Franco is, because he still looks like he's only 12. So you have to believe in that instance that he is part of a fraternity and leads a fraternity. And the jokes, it's another one of those problems where the funny jokes of the film is in the trailer. Which
some of them are. There is one that's connected to one in the trailer, which I didn't expect and did get a big laugh from me.
Well, the funny jokes when I was watching the film itself, because I did see it in the cinema, I saw it with a group of people, and again, a lot of them did find it funny. It's just, I think I would have laughed at those jokes if I didn't see them in the trailer. Now, I make it so that I don't watch trailers past the first one, and unfortunately, those jokes were in the first trailer, which is really annoying. Again, it's down to the big studios. They need to learn how to cut a trailer together properly without giving away too much of the movie. A trailer is there to give you an appetizer, to make you want to go see the film rather than see the film in the trailer itself. So they need to learn.
I'm also thinking back, remembering now, there was a trailer I remember seeing, and I'm sure I saw something which was quite a big physical gag, which I don't remember being in the film at all.
That's normally the case also. I think one of the best trailers created for a film where it didn't give very much away was the one for Cloud Atlas. There was a 5-minute trailer for that film, and it didn't give very
Cloud
much
Atlas
away.
is very dense, and there's that much in it. You can watch a 10-minute trailer and you still wouldn't quite have a clue. You can watch the film and still not quite have a clue what's going on.
But that's what was so good about it. It didn't give too much away with it, and that I think was the problem with Bad Neighbours, and for some of the jokes in Bad Neighbours for me, that a lot of them were in the trailer, and it didn't garner very much of laughs for me. It garnered like a belly laugh in a way near to the end of the movie, and there was a few little smirks here and there. And I think for me, a smirk is classified as a laugh on the laughter scale. So it's not as bad as a lot of movies like this. The American Pie series, for instance, when it gets to the Beta House stuff, I actually quite have a soft spot for those. And you would have thought that this would have been up my alley in that front, and that's not the case. It's not like, say, like the Project X's or films like this. There was one.
Oh yeah, it's not really as crass as that.
Yeah, there was another one which was from the creators of Project X and The Hangover, which was about 3 kids.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but you know which one I'm talking about anyway.
I've wiped it from my memory. Yeah.
There was
just before we go on to the next review, I'm going to say before I forget, I'm not saying Cloud Atlas is a bad film. I love it. It's fantastic, but it's very complex.
Yeah, it's stupidly complex. I can't wait for the Wachowskis' next film, Jupiter Ascending. It's just annoying that we have to wait until next year for it. Because it looks really good, and it's got Mila Kunis in it.
What's up next?
A film that doesn't feature Mila Kunis. Damn it. It's Brick Mansions. It unfortunately features Paul Walker in one of his last roles. His last role is in Fast 7, which is out again next year. So we have to wait for that. And he plays a police officer in Damien Collier, and it's set in a dystopian Detroit in the future itself, where a lot of these huge, massive high-rises, what we call high-rises, but in America, they're sort of like the title of the film, Brick Mansions. These huge, massive block of flats, they've been completely deserted and walled off, and only the most dangerous, nasty criminals live in these high-rises, and society can't deal with them anymore. Police have just they just steer away from them, and there is a reason, because, like I said, the nastiest thugs live in these huge, massive ones, led by the character who's played by RZA. And you've also got a character who's played by David Bell, who plays Lino, sort of like recreating his character from District 13 Ultimatum, which is this is a remake of that one. Was directed by Luc Besson. Luc Besson's got a writing and production credit on this film, and he plays Lino, and his girlfriend is kidnapped by RZA's character and took into Brick Mansions, and so he's forced, unfortunately for him, to team up with Paul Walker's character to try and rescue from there, but he discovers a plot that's happening inside the area of here. Here's a clip.
Talk about this bomb. You here to buy it?
No, I came to disarm it. That thing's got to make you a little bit anxious, ticking.
Tremaine Alexander don't do anxious. I cause anxious. Now, I could be halfway down south before this thing goes off. Or you can make me and my peeps an offer.
I'll offer to disable it before it blows us all up. You like that?
Oh, that won't fly. How about I just send it back the way I found it? K2, let the sun shine in. Gentlemen, please, you're gonna love the view.
Only a crazy person would have a rocket.
When you live in a war zone, you prepare for war. Now, this thing is rigged to fly straight downtown at a push of a button. Let's talk numbers.
You let all those people die over money? That's low even for you.
You go where I come from, cash rule everything around me.
Now, like I said, Brick Mansions is a remake of District 13 Ultimatum. It even has the same actor from that film in this one, and this is nowhere near as good as District 13. District 13 is fast and frenetic and over the top, and it has some brilliant camera work in it, and the movement of the camera is much more as an important character in the film, more so than some of the characters in the movie, and it's handled really well by Luc Besson. It's when Luc Besson is at his best. This one, even though he's wrote it and he's got a production credit, it's just messy. RZA he's part of the Wu-Tang Clan, and if you've watched any of their films, you know how bad of actors they really are, and they are terrible, terrible actors. The last one was what's the call that Quentin Tarantino presented? Man with Iron Fist.
Man with Iron Fist, yeah.
Yeah, that was the last one featuring RZA, and that was terrible. This one
had David Bautista in a terrible performance before he learned to act for Gone into the Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that's not the case with this. I'm glad that Paul Walker is bowing out on us with Fast 7. Like he's hopefully going to bow out on us on a high, rather than making this his last film, because it would just be a huge, massive whimper to his career, because it's not entertaining. And that's the biggest problem with this movie. It is a movie where you need to be entertained by the over-the-top martial arts. You need to be entertained by the over-the-top cheesy acting, the over-the-top free running, because that's what David Bale does. He does free running brilliantly, and it just isn't. It's boring. It's a snooze fest, and you're waiting for the ending to happen because you just don't want to watch it anymore.
I gotta agree. I just remember I saw this at the cinema and I was just bored with it. It was just, again, unentertaining, and it's one of these ones that's a completely unnecessary remake that it doesn't even try. It just tries to just do exactly the same thing, and because of that, it's boring. It doesn't do its own thing. It doesn't try and do anything original in it. It's honestly so stale, and it's a shame because they're just saying one of the last films of Paul Walker's.
Yeah.
So the movie you're saying about this movie doesn't have Mila Kunis in it. A movie that does have Mila Kunis in it.
Why did I not watch it then?
The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. I knew you were going to say that as soon as I said it. This is, if not the last one, then one of the last films of Robin Williams as well. Bit of a odd way that this is working out this week with releases, but he plays a man who, at the start of the film, we're introduced to him. He is essentially the angriest man. He's driving along. He's really annoyed with everything that's going on, getting annoyed at the traffic. He's going to a doctor's appointment. His doctor isn't there. His doctor's actually sneaked away early for the weekend, left a younger doctor, played by Mila Kunis, in charge of him.
That makes it even worse. Mila Kunis is a doctor.
She sees him, and she's having her own problems. She's stressed out and not happy with her life, and she's popping pills to try and stay happy all the time. Things not going well for her. She's in a mood when she tries to explain to his character that he has a brain aneurysm, which means he is basically a ticking time bomb. Stress and anger will effectively set him off at some point and kill him. He is sort of pushing her through this anger and this news for a time frame. She, obviously, the doctor, she can't really give him one, but she's pushing her so much. She gets so frustrated and angry that she blurts out what she sees right in front of her on a magazine, which says about cooking something in 90 minutes. So she says to him, "You have 90 minutes to live." As a result of this, he goes out of the doctor's office in a fury, goes out there, doesn't really believe her. Even in voiceover, we're told he doesn't believe her, but he still has this nagging feeling of, oh wait, hang on a minute, 90 minutes, I need to do this, I need to get my things in order, I need to get in touch with my ex, with my wife, with my son who I fell out with, and all these things. And you see him then going through the city of New York, trying to get in touch with people and make amends for things. You have Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones plays his brother, you have Melissa Leo playing his wife, and you have I can't remember his name now, who's in it. There's someone else that playing his son, whose name I don't have here, unfortunately. But it's the thing with it is that it's a film that it wants to be too many things. It can't decide if it wants to be a comedy, if it wants to be a drama, if it wants to be serious, if it wants to be loopy. And it has these weird things then going on with, you then have Mila Kunis' character chasing after him, trying to make amends and fix things because of the fact that it'll help her feel better and fix things for her, because her world is kind of upside down and not working out for her as she'd expected. So these two characters that basically have found out their lives are terrible and not working right and have to try and fix things. And it's one of these, it's the kind of thing that Phil Alden Robinson, who's the director, does. He does these dramas which do this, but the thing is that he's not really focusing on the drama. He's trying to focus on too many things and try and make it funny because he's got Robin Williams in there, when he should be making it all about the drama. And that's the thing that's really, really a shame about it, because it really just is uncomfortable to watch. Not only for that, because it has its identity crisis, but because of the fact that it does feature Robin Williams' character attempting to commit suicide at one point. Not in the exact same way as we've heard in the news, but it's still too close for comfort, really, especially so soon. So it's really, you kind of sitting there watching it, and it had me honestly kind of squirming in my seat, just going, I don't really want to be watching this. And not just because of the fact that it's not a well put together, not well balanced film, but just because of the fact it's got Robin Williams doing that in the film too. So it's, I think, been released at the wrong time, but aside from that, I think it's been put together rather awkwardly too. It's definitely a straight to video thing. I'm not surprised it didn't get a cinema release, and it's just another one, again, a shame that this is going to be one of, if not Robin Williams' last sort of screen appearance.
Yeah, Cat in the live chat, I hate you.
What she said?
Yeah, you'll have a little look over the live chat while I go over the next review, and you can see why. But next up is Plastic, which is a small British film directed by Julian Ghibli, and it centres around 4 friends: Sam, Fordy, Yitzi, and Rafa, played by Ed Spielers, Will Poulter, Alfie Allen, and Sebastian D'Souza, and they are conmen. What they do is they get credit cards from people, spend as much money as they possibly can on the credit cards by buying expensive items and then selling these items on. Unfortunately, 2 of them, Rafa and Yitzi, decide to hijack this driver, who ends up becoming a driver for a mob boss, and takes away this briefcase which has a load of money in it, and it annoys this mob boss. He hunts them down and he threatens them. He tells them that they better either get the money together every single week for him, which equates to around about £50,000 every single week, or their idea is to do one huge massive hit so they can pay off their debt. The problem is they have to try and find around about $5 million to do this. And so they come up with an idea that they get themselves together, get over to America with the help of a girl who Sam is interested in, to try and sort of like swindle the money out of the richest people in America. Here's a clip.
5 cards, all linked to big spenders who hit Miami at least 3 times a year.
Combined credit on the cards is $3.5 million.
Who are these people?
But if you boys want to go out and hit the town, that's fine by me, but stick to cash. These cards are strictly for the job in hand. My personal advice would be to keep a low profile.
First up, Yannick Kiefer, a banker from Luxembourg in town selling barrel bonds. Credit card limit, $500,000.
And we're aiming to take him for every penny.
What if he's out shopping at the same time as us? Won't they notice 2 different card transactions?
Of course they will. That's why we've got to keep an eye on him.
Right, the thing with Plastic is, it's not too bad of a film. It's stupidly predictable. You can easily predict how the movie's going to play out because it follows the ABCs of stereotypes when it comes to this kind of film. But that shouldn't be held in its against it, because the fact that the characters are well acted. There is betrayal in the movie, which you can see coming off a mile, and the actors who play them it's a bit morose, to be honest, but they're not too bad. The love interest is, I think it's stitched in there so they can find a reason for them to go over to America to try and get the help, and she shows no reluctancy to actually help them, even though he says a lie to her by turning around and saying that it involves him, that he was addicted to swindling money from people because he was trying to find money so his brother can go and get this operation to help him. She believes him in that instance, and it's just too quick. So there are bits of the film where it's just, I don't think that would have actually happened in real life. But the film itself is not too bad. It's well acted. It plods a little bit, and it gets a bit stretched near to the end when they're trying to resolve the problem. But it's fine for what it is.
Okay, I'm going to go on to my last DVD release of the week, which is Mum's Night Out. It's a comedy from directors Andrew Irwin and John Irwin, who are credited as the Irwin brothers. And it stars Sarah Drew as the main character, who is a mother of 3. She and her husband, played by Sean Astin, everything's sort of going okay, but being a mother of 3 kind of takes a toll on her. She gets stressed out. She's trying to write this blog, and it has this one of these things where the character's talking in exposition. There's lots of voiceover at the start and all these weird animation things going on the screen, and it freeze frames and shows when she's talking about something, it points to it and stuff, that kind of thing, which I kind of find I like in some films like this. And that kind of sort of thing. That kind of humour is all the way sort of the way through it, but then it has this whole thing of that she's so stressed out, things aren't going great because of that. So what her husband decides to do is say to her, you know, have the night off, go and do something on Saturday night. She then plans a night out with her friends, gets her a couple others together, and they go out on a Saturday night, leaving the men at home with the boys and looking at them, and the kids looking after them. And as you can imagine, predictably, the men can't really handle it, can't really hack it. They end up going out trying to keep the kids entertained. The mums are out on the town having a good laugh and everything, trying to do things, but doesn't work out exactly as planned. And do you think they're all going to meet up somewhere together and things are going to go crazy and they're all going to have fun and have a good night? Well, I don't know. You can guess. I'm not going to say, but you can probably guess. And that's where it just falls apart. It tries to do this whole thing of, you know, the films like Adventures in Babysitting and The Sitter, the one with Jonah Hill.
God.
It's retreading that kind of genre, that kind of thing. But the thing is, it's a PG.
Okay.
It doesn't have any of the gross out stuff in it. It tries to have these moments where it kind of is like it's going to have that. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this. I actually wanted more gross out. I wanted more adult humour in it. I wanted that kind of thing. It felt so lackluster. And like it was just... It didn't have anything to even live for. It just kind of... I was honestly just sitting there going... When is it going to get something that's going to be funny? Because it didn't, and I like the start of it. It started out with me entertaining me, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting this. I can see this. I like it. I'm liking the way it's done. I like this freeze frame and draw things on the screen because it had moments there that I was like, you know, making me smile. And it didn't get past that though. And by the end of it, I just honestly couldn't wait for it to end. And it's not bad. It's just humdrum. It's nothing exceptional. It's nothing. It doesn't even really. I mean, it's the kind of thing that had it been a bit more, it would have got a rant for being bad. It doesn't even really inspire a rant.
Oh well. Final film, Blue Ruin. Now we have a clip for this, but don't play it because I don't see the point of it now, to be honest. But yeah, Blue Ruin. It stars Macon Blair, who plays the character of Dwight, and he lives in his car. He lives off food from bins, anything that he can find on the beach, where he sits most of his day because he has no place to live. And you find out why a relationship with his wife went wrong, and he decides to hunt down this person who killed his parents. He decides to kill them, and then the relatives of the person who he decides to kill decides to hunt him down, and he has to try and protect himself. With the help of a friend, he gets some guns together, and he decides to go after them. So it's a movie with him getting revenge on people who killed his parents, them coming to get him, and then him coming to get them. Yeah, it's supposedly a thriller, and the way the film plays out is it has some moments, little tiny pockets, where you find out more about the character himself, of Dwight, and what he's actually like and why he's decided to go after them, why his parents were killed ultimately. And you don't care, to be honest, because you don't care for Dwight. I know you would seek revenge on the person who did this, but to kill them, and then the family of them coming for you to kill you, and then you getting guns together to kill them. It's just a mess of a film, which isn't interesting. The Dwight character, like I said, is not very interesting at all. And there is a genre of films which I don't like called mumblecore, which is movies where people just mutter away, and you can't understand very much of their saying. And we did have a clip where you can listen to one of the characters in the movie and you can understand him. He's the only person who makes sense in the whole film. Because the rest of the film, especially Dwight, he just talks a bit like this. And I'm going to kill you, I am. He has no threat into him. He looks like a little mouse. Like anybody would not be scared of a little mouse who's just looking up at you with its really little sad eyes. And that's all he reminded you of. And he's supposed to have menace in him. He doesn't. The film itself is forgettable. It's a movie that very few people are going to know about, and it's understandable.
I have to say, I kind of have to feel like I have to stand up and defend this film for you now, because I quite enjoyed it. I saw it at the cinema. I admit that it is got very quiet sound in it, but the thing is, when I saw The Guest, it reminded me of it a lot in the way that it was done and being a small film and that kind of thing. And I thought that it was surprisingly it's slow paced, but I didn't find that it dragged. I kind of got into it and I kind of liked it, and I thought it was very well acted. I don't have his name here, but the main actor who played Dwight, I thought was really good, and I've not seen him in anything before. Macon Blair, yeah, I thought he was really, really good, because he plays this kind of man who is beaten and has given up, but then he goes through these steps because of the fact that it's the only thing he's ever thought of when he finds out he's told this man has been released from prison. So I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not saying it's brilliant, but I didn't have the problems with it you did, and I kind of really got into it. I did see it at the cinema though. This is maybe the difference, but I found it quite engrossing.
I did not feel that. I didn't feel like his character was strong enough to even get any kind of retribution, to be honest. He wouldn't even be able to scare anybody. If you see him turning up, you would just laugh and think that the gun that he's got in his hand is a prop.
Well, I mean,
I know that could be more. It could be seen as more menacing, and ultimately, it's that thing where the more innocent somebody looks, the more malevolent he is on the inside.
Exactly. I mean, I'm curious now. You said that what you'll make of in the short time when Cold in July comes out, because it's a very similar kind of.
That's it next week.
It's next week, yeah. It's a very sort of grungy, similar revenge flick, old style revenge flick, which I did enjoy as well. So it's a very similar kind of thing. I'm really finding that a lot of the small indie films like that now, I'm really getting into.
Yeah, but I didn't like this.
Well, that's it for this week's show. Thank you for listening to us live if you have. If not, thank you for listening to us on catch up. You can always check out details of the show on mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/mondaymovieshow. Find us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. Stuart can be found at Cryptic Tadpole. I can be found at AHDVD. And you can also have a look at some of our sites that we do recommend. Stuart will be on followingthenerd.com. He'll be on their live show on Thursday night. And also there's FromPageToScreen.com, where he's also involved in the From
Page to Screen.
Yes, that's it.
Which is on Sunday.
Yes. And there's also the foundation that we do recommend. Please, if you can, have a look at the charity Seren Foundation, SEREN Foundation.org.uk. If you can, have a look at there and try and donate to them if you can as well. So, as I said, that's it for this week's show. Before we end the show, we're going to go through our TV movies of the week. Do you want to do yours first?
I can do. Well, mine are two films that are directed by. Well, one of them is directed by a director who I can't stand, but I think it's his best film, and the other film is directed by a director I used to really like, and this is his best film also. So the first one is Michael Bay in The Rock.
You've got to admit, that was quite good of me to guess that.
It's on Channel 5 on Sunday the 14th at 9 o'clock. It's by far, I think, Michael Bay's best film. So I really, really like The Rock. It's one of those movies where you would probably think I would hate, but I really like The Rock. Every single time I've seen it, I've liked it. Nicolas Cage, I think, is at his best in that film. And so, if you've not seen The Rock, please watch it. And the other film is one of my personal favourites. It's on ITV4 on Thursday the 11th at 11:40. It's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. One of the best science fiction films ever created. It still holds up today with the special effects. The practical effects are amazing in that movie. I'm still impressed by it, especially the chest ripping off the hand scene. It is just, it's a mind-blowing science fiction film. Highly recommend that.
Two great films there. My choice of movie of the week is... It's on twice, actually, because it was on tonight, as I said at the start of the show. It was on tonight from 9 o'clock, Monday from 9 o'clock on Film 4. It's being shown again, though. If you missed it, don't worry. It's on Saturday, the 13th of September, 9 o'clock again on Film 4. Kingdom of Heaven, Ridley Scott's director's cut of the version of the film. Now, the reason I'm saying this is good because I have seen the theatrical cut, which was absolutely horrible film, terrible. It was 2 hours in time. It had been obviously stripped down, and then the director's cut was released, and absolutely love it. It is like a 3-hour film, so bear in mind 9 o'clock start with adverts on Film 4. It doesn't finish till about 12:30 at night. So a long film, but definitely a very good one, I think. And if you've seen the theatrical version and you go, oh no, that was a horrid film, see this version of it. It's much, much better.
Pass.
So you've not seen this? I'm curious to see what you think. 'Cause I think
No, I've seen Kingdom of Heaven. No, I've seen it.
The director's cut?
Yeah, I have. I've seen the director's cut as well. It's just too long for me to actually sit and watch it, to be honest.
Okay. So before we end up now, movie of the week.
The Guest.
The Guest. I'm kind of edging towards that, but I have to say, Before I Go to Sleep wins me over a bit more. So,
no, The Guest easily for me.
In a film where there have been, there's also been Box Trolls have had previews this week, which comes out properly next week.
I was going to see that as well, but I couldn't be bothered.
I didn't have time. And also tonight, showing only tonight, there was previews of Pride, which comes out next week as well. So a lot of releases coming out and plenty to choose from. So I say go and see both of them, double bill.
Yeah.
The Guest and Before I Go to Sleep.
Really interesting double bill. I would see it. Go and see. It's hard to actually choose which one first, because it would be normally it's easy to see. I'll go and see The Guest, and you'll be pumped up to go and see Before I Go to Sleep. But
they're both not long films. The Guest's only about 10 minutes longer than Before I Go to Sleep.
Yeah, so it's hard to choose which one. Just roll a dice or flip a coin.
Or see the times.
Yeah, or yeah.
That's it for this week's show. Coming up in a few weeks' time is Denzel Washington in the big screen adaptation of the TV series The Equalizer, directed by Anton Fuqua. I'm going to leave you with a clip of that. So we'll leave you with that in a moment. Before which I will say good night and adieu.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, that'll do, I guess. We'll see you next week, probably on Monday, maybe Sunday. Check out mondaymovieshow.co.uk even, once I unravel my tongue, to find out details. When we know, we will put it on there. So until next week, we'll see you then. Bye bye.
Yeah, whatever.
He's not coming back. Not enough? Because I can keep going, brick by brick, dollar by dollar, body by body. Or you can call your boss and tell him to shut down his operation tonight.
When you look at me, what do you see? The answer's nothing. I have no feelings about you one way or the other. You're like lint or a bottle cap. You're just a thing to remove.
The men I killed, your men, I gave them a chance. They made their decision. I'm giving you the opportunity to make yours. I've done some bad things in my life. I promised someone that I loved very much that I would never go back to being that person. But for you, I'm going to make an exception.
Yeah, whatever.